another Queensland Severe Weather Chasers Network Cyclone video update. Tonight, the 3rd of December 2018, my name is Nathan Donnelly, and tonight we're continuing our coverage of Tropical Cyclone Owen. So we can see here with the Bureau's track map that Tropical Cyclone Owen was at 4 p.m. this afternoon, a Category 1 system, and at that stage he was sitting at about 580 kilometres east of Willis Island and 1,030 kilometres east of Cairns, so well off the coastline of the Queensland coastline. Expected to overnight head in this southeasterly direction and intensify into a Category 2 system. Then by tomorrow afternoon expected to adopt this west or west-southwest movement and be downgraded into a Category 1 system by 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Then expected to develop more of a southwesterly track, and by Wednesday morning expected to still be a Category 1 system, and then by Wednesday afternoon expected to be downgraded into a low pressure system, and then it is expected to then go northwesterly as a low pressure system there towards Willis Island, but as a low pressure system, so not too much destruction there from the cyclone itself, but there could be quite some strong winds and heavy rainfall there for Willis Island as the remnants of Tropical Cyclone Owen go over that section of the Coral Sea. We can look now at the sea surface temperatures for this system, and the system is located in this area here, and as we can see we've got some nice warm temperatures there of around 30 degrees, but to the south of this system the waters do get slightly cooler, getting down to around the 25 to 20 degree mark, so that cooler water could impact on this cyclone's future intensity, which may be one of the reasons why it does de-intensify quite quickly tomorrow afternoon after getting to a Category 2 system overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Now if we have a look at the relative humidity that's around this system at the moment, and we can see that where the system is situated at the moment there's around 80% humidity in that area, so not quite as much as what this system might like, but still quite high. So the system really liking this blue and dark blue shading, showing that 80 to 90% humidity. With the system tracking to the southeast, it's still going to encounter some nice moist air, and then as it starts heading towards the west, the humidity does start to drop a little bit as it gets closer to the coastline, which again could be contributing to its quick de-intensification late tomorrow afternoon. So let's have a look at some of the models that are associated with this system, and this is the EPS model, and we can see that at the moment they've got this system right there off the coastline of Queensland, off the coastline of Cairns there. So that's today. Tomorrow at this time we can see that the system heads a bit more towards the coastline of Queensland, but it is weakening as it does so. And then on Wednesday we can see that there's pretty much nothing left of the system at all. It doesn't even have a number associated with it. It's just this little circle here in the middle of the ocean showing us that this system is pretty much well and gone by this time. And then on Thursday there's no sign of the system whatsoever. So that's the EPS. Now if we have a look at a model which is called the GEFS, and at the moment they also have this system off the coastline of Cairns, then in about 6 hours time, so tomorrow morning, the system hasn't really moved all that much in the 6-hour period up until tomorrow morning. Still sitting relatively in that same spot. If we then look into tomorrow afternoon, we can see that the system's starting to adopt that westerly track. Then into Wednesday morning, we can see that from the GEFS that the system starting to lose its intensity, still adopting more of a southwesterly direction according to this model. If we look further on, hasn't really moved a whole lot, still sitting there right in the middle of the Coral Sea, not looking as if it wants to move anywhere really. And then by Wednesday morning, we see that the system is really starting to weaken, and we look into Wednesday afternoon. Here it is, 1006 hectopascals, which really is not tropical cyclone depth at all. So well and truly has transformed into a low pressure system. And if we look further, we can see that it's not really moving all that fast, or at this point, as a low pressure system. And when we look into Wednesday evening, we can see that as I've said many times, not really going anywhere. It's just sitting there in the Coral Sea, not showing any signs of moving in any particular direction real quick. So that's the GEFS model. If we now have a look at the microwave imagery for this system, and well, we can see that there's lots of reds and yellows and hints of grey in there. But for this system to be really strong, we'd be needing to see some black as well in this system. But what we can see is that it's definitely got some thunderstorms developing here around the outer area of the system, and inside those storms do get a little bit stronger. But as I said, in order for this to be a powerful cyclone, we'd be needing to see those black bits as well happening within the storm. So we can see that at the moment the thunderstorms are being they're not being blown to its eastern side, but that seems to be the direction that they're heading, is in this east or southeasterly direction. So wind shear not playing a huge issue at the moment with this system, but we can definitely see that the storms are being blown in the southeasterly direction. Sorry. Time now to have a look at some more of our models, and here is the European model. And well, they have this system at 10 PM tonight, sitting right smack bang there in the middle of the Coral Sea. And just you can see that the winds are wrapped itself around its north, definitely its east and southern side. Not real strong, as the yellow orangey shading is showing, but still that's where the winds are at the moment. Let's have a look through to tomorrow morning, and we see that this system, as we've said many times before, not really making huge movements in any particular direction. If we wanted to pick a direction, we would have to say southeast, but only very slightly. And those winds have begun to be a little bit more intense here on its eastern and southern side of the system, moving through into Tuesday afternoon. And we can see that the system continuing to go southerly, and those winds starting to die down again on its southern and eastern side through to Tuesday evening. And we do see that the system starts to adopt this westerly track. So this is what a lot of the models have been predicting, that it will go westerly, but as it does so, it will start to de-intensify. And as we can see, those winds there now more prominent just on the southern side of the system. through now into, well, we'll go into Wednesday afternoon, and we can see that the system, it's now tracking sort of southwesterly, is what the European is saying. European models now sitting just off the coast there of Townsville, but by this stage definitely a low pressure system and not really expected to be packing any sort of intensity whatsoever. And we'll just look through into Thursday morning just to see what this system does after it dies out, and it seems to just hang around off the coastline there of the Townsville sort of area. So it's not been shoved back up to the north, it's not been shoved out to the east or the southeast. It's really just meandering along in the Coral Sea there off the coastline of Queensland, not really doing a whole lot. So now let's see what the GFS has to say about the system, and here we are at 10 p.m. this evening, and we can see that the system, exactly where all the other models have been saying, right here in the middle of the Coral Sea, albeit maybe slightly to the eastern part of the Coral Sea, but we can see some strong winds. Now this is something that the European model did not show, were these stronger winds here on its southern and eastern side. So that is one of the differences between the European and the GFS, is the intensity that they make this system. Through now into Tuesday morning, and we see the system only really very slowly moving to the southeast, but those winds, and this is what is the main differences between the two models, the winds are still quite strong here on its eastern and southern side of the system. So if you're a fisherman out there on the southern or eastern side of this system, you're in for a very rough ride. Through to Tuesday afternoon, and according to the GFS model at 4 p.m, this system really starts to ever so slowly head back towards the west, towards the coastline of Queensland, and those winds have now really started to die down as well, showing a de-intensification of the system. So really starting to lose its oomph at this stage. It's through into Wednesday morning, and Wednesday morning it's going to be more of a case of cyclone. What cyclone really is not any strength to this system at all. It's definitely a low pressure system at this stage, and it's still just heading towards the west still into the Queensland coastline, but not at any great rates or knots. Let's look into just Wednesday afternoon just to see what this system does from there on in, and doesn't seem to really move a whole lot at all. It just wants to stay right there off the coastline of Queensland in the middle of the Coral Sea and not really do a whole lot. So that's the GFS model. Now if we have a look at the winds around the system at this very moment, thanks to Earth Null School, and we can see that we do have not a very tightly wrapped eye to the system. It's quite big in actual fact, but nonetheless we do have an eye there, and we've got these winds wrapping around it, looking slightly stronger than what they did last night, but not a whole lot. So definitely would be that high-end category 1 system, perhaps category 2 at this stage, very low category 2, but nonetheless still quite weak, and that tightenings around the system are not all that tight. So folks, that's all we have time for tonight. So thank you for watching. Our next cyclone video update will be tomorrow evening. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to support our work that we do for you, please do take the time to show your appreciation by donating to us through our PayPal link. So thanks once again, and good night.